a once picture-perfect high school romance would end in a tragic death. Let me paint the picture for you. It's fall, it's football season, Friday night, lights beaming at the football stadium, student section is rowdy, everyone is excited for the game. In 2014, at Central High School in Knoxville, Tennessee, 14-year-old Emma Walker was the only freshman to make the cheerleading team that year. Emma has been described as passionate, fun, kind, and caring. She loved cheerleading, she loved the stadium, she loved the team, she loved her school, and her passion for it would show. She had such a good energy about her, so when junior football player Riley Gow saw her on the sidelines, he quickly developed a little crush. Riley was the wide receiver of the football team. His friends described him as a little bit of a jokester. He loved to play video games, obviously loved football. He was your classic popular boy next door. At the time, Riley had a girlfriend, but he broke up with her to start dating Emma. The two of them became the cutest couple at school. Football player, cheerleader. They got along like a house on fire. Emma's parents met Riley. Great first impression. Her mom, Jill, has said, quote, he came in very polite, very nice in the beginning. He was very, very likable. Her father, Mark, has said, I thought he was a very nice looking young man, well-mannered. Emma's friends also really liked Riley. They were so happy for her. Emma would post pictures of her and Riley on her social media all the time, expressing how lucky she felt to be with someone like Riley, and Riley would post pictures of her expressing the same thing. But soon after, cracks started to show in their relationship. The first very noticeable red flag to Emma's parents was when Riley decided that he was going to take his ex-girlfriend to prom. Yeah, he was going to take his ex and not his current girlfriend Emma, because he said that he promised his ex that he would take her and he didn't want to break that promise. Very weird. Riley also showed no effort when it came to getting to know Emma's friends, and at first they thought it was maybe because he was shy, but then he started to isolate Emma from her friends. Not only did he not want to hang out with them, but he didn't want her to hang out with them either. Classic toxic behavior. Emma's friends and family slowly but surely began to notice how controlling, jealous, and possessive Riley was. One of her friends has said, quote, he got more possessive and more clingy towards her, and he wouldn't let her do certain things, quote. That behavior obviously became concerning. Riley began to tell Emma what she could or could not wear, began to tell her who she could or could not hang out with. He would sit outside her work for hours just waiting for her to get off. He would call her all the time, text her all the time, monitor her behavior really. And for the next 2 years, their relationship would remain extremely unstable. The couple was often breaking up, having intense arguments. Riley would be extremely disrespectful. He would say things such as, quote, I hate you, I hate everything about you, you're the biggest I've ever come in contact with. He once even told Emma, you are dead to me, I will check the obituary. But then, of course, every single argument would follow up with him drowning her in compliments. He would tell her how sorry he was for all the things he said and did. He would beg on his knees practically, saying that he was so sorry, that he loved her. Every single argument and every single insult was followed by an apology. Emma's parents noticed the toll that this relationship was having on her, and they would express their concerns to Emma, and they would even try to convince her to end the relationship for good. They banned Riley from coming over to the house. They took Emma's phone so she couldn't communicate with him, even though they still found ways around that. And then they just flat out told her that she was not allowed to see him anymore. But Emma, being a teenage girl, she was 14 years old, a little older now. The more and more that people were telling her that she couldn't be with Riley, the more that she wanted to. She loved him, or at least she thought that she did, because he did such a good job at manipulating her, and she would always want to make her way back to him. And I will say, unless you have been in a relationship like this one, you won't understand, because it really is blinding, and there's nothing that anyone can say or do to make you realize what's happening right in front of you if you don't want to. Like, if you have experienced that, it honestly really is mind-blowing. Like, this should be a science experiment, how blind you can feel and you do not realize it. Moving on, by the fall of 2016, Riley had graduated. He was an 18-year-old freshman at a nearby college. It was only like 30 minutes away, and Emma was 16 years old. Now in her junior year of high school, they were still together. By that point, her parents thought that enough was enough, and they grounded Emma. They told her that she was not allowed to leave the house unless it was to go to school or to go to cheerleading practice. The parents did this in hopes of making her realize that she needed to end the relationship with Riley for good, and it worked. Emma finally realized that she did deserve better. She started seeing Riley for who he really was, and she was done with him. She started being her old self again, spending time with her parents and her friends again, and the people who loved and cared for her were so happy that they would finally have the old Emma back. However, Riley, realizing that Emma was drifting away from him, only became more psychotic. Riley played victim. He would tell his friends that he was so sad and so heartbroken, he would often have thoughts of hurting himself. In November of 2016, Emma's parents allowed her to go to a friend's house for the night. While she was at her friend's house, Emma started getting random texts from a random number saying things such as, quote, go to your car with your keys. Go alone. I've got someone you love. If you don't comply, I will hurt them. If you'd like to hear his crying and screams, give him a call. Emma's telling her friends about these messages and everyone's like, what? What is this? So they go outside. Riley is on the ground, lying face down, looking like he just woke up in a daze, and Riley says, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I've got here. I've been kidnapped. Someone dropped me off here. I don't know what's happening. Where am I? How did I get here? And Emma is like, what? Why are you here? Riley faked his own kidnapping. He pretended that he got kidnapped and dropped off at that front yard, coincidentally right by the house that Emma was at. He faked the entire scenario just to get attention. Very weird. Honestly, very pick me. The next morning, Emma drives her home, and as they're driving in the neighborhood, they see a strange man dressed in all black. They thought it was weird, but Emma's friend dropped her off and then she left. Not long after, while Emma is home alone, the strange man dressed in all black walks up to her house, to her front door, and starts ringing the doorbell over and over again. And Emma is terrified. I mean, I would be too, because that is so strange and creepy. She's home alone, she's scared, and Emma texts Riley and she says, I hate you, but I need you right now. And then he comes over. He comes over to play hero and act like he's saving Emma, but let's be honest, Riley was the strange man dressed in black. When Emma's mom got home, she pulled into her house and she sees Riley there talking to her daughter, and Jill, the mom, thought, seriously? He knows he's not allowed to be here. What is he doing? She got out of the car and told him to leave. Riley pushed back and said, I'm here to make sure that Emma is okay. I need to stay here to make sure that Emma is okay, but the mom was not having it, and he did eventually leave. The weird situations only made Emma's parents be more wary. They were worried about their daughter. They were constantly watching her, observing her every move, driving her to and from work to make sure that she was safe. November 20th was a Sunday. That night was normal at the Walker household. Emma texted back and forth with one of her friends about a homework assignment, and then she went to bed a little after midnight. We find out later that night, before she fell asleep, Riley was texting and calling her, and Emma was expressing that she had absolutely no interest in getting back together with him. Riley then blew up her phone, calling her over and over again, but his calls and texts went unanswered, and Emma eventually fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Emma's dad, Mark, woke up because he thought that he heard the sound of a door slamming. He got out of bed, he checked on Emma, who looked to be fine and asleep in her bed. He checked on his son, who was also fine and asleep in bed. He brushed it off, went back to sleep. The next Monday morning, a little after 6 in the morning, Emma's mother, Jill, went into her bedroom to try and wake her up for school, but Emma wasn't waking up. This is how her mom has described that morning, quote, I said her name, didn't hear anything. I bumped her leg, didn't hear anything, and then I looked at her face and realized. I checked for a pulse and I couldn't find anything. I don't remember a whole lot from that. I know that I called 911. When Jill realized that her daughter's face was pale and her lips were blue, she couldn't find a pulse, she hysterically called 911 and told them that her daughter was 16 years old, that she was not waking up, that she couldn't feel a pulse, and she begged for an ambulance to come immediately. When authorities showed up, 16-year-old Emma was no longer alive. Emma's parents, families, and friends were absolutely devastated. That night after her death, they held a candlelit vigil at Central High School, and her teammates on the cheer team released balloons in her memory. Initially, there looked to be a possibility of Emma having unalived herself, but that made no sense. The scene was taped off as a crime scene, and when investigators looked closely, they noticed a small hole in the wall of her bedroom right by her bed, a hole from a weapon. That weapon was used to go through the wall and into Emma's head, unaliving her. When they went outside, they noticed another hole and further evidence that there had been a weapon fired. Someone had done this to Emma. Someone went after her that night to intentionally unalive her, and it had to be someone that knew where Emma's bedroom was, where her bed was set up in her room. Someone who knew exactly where she would be. The more investigators kept questioning the people who knew her, the more and more the same name would keep coming up, her ex-boyfriend, Riley Gall. An investigator said, quote, everyone kept giving us the name Riley Gall because of their relationship, because they had seen the way that Riley had treated her, the way that he would talk to her. On social media, Riley was pretending to be mourning like everyone else who loved her, but investigators had a strong feeling that he was the exact suspect they were looking for. Riley's friends were worried about him because he was not acting right, and when talking to investigators, one of his friends named Alex told law enforcement that Riley had told him that he had stolen one of his grandfather's weapons. Another one of his friends told investigators that Riley had asked him how to get fingerprints off of a weapon. Suspicious. Investigators were moving fast. They were on it. They brought Riley in for questioning on Monday to talk about his whereabouts for the past 72 hours. The interview could not have made him look more guilty. He was so unsure about where he had been, he couldn't even say for sure if he spent the night at his friend's house or not. During the entire 2 hours that he was questioned as well, not once could he refer to Emma as Emma. He wouldn't say her name. He would just call her the girl. Investigators said that he was acting, quote, emotionless. Riley's friends knew that something wasn't right. They could tell that Riley Riley was not acting like himself, and they had a very strong suspicion that he was the one responsible for ending the life of Emma. The friends teamed up with investigators. They worked with them to get a confession out of Riley and to recover the potential murder weapon. Investigators wired up his friends with microphones, a transmitter where police could listen in, and a hidden video camera. And their operation worked perfectly. Riley trusted his friends. He took them to recover the weapon and had plans to dispose it, but right as they were getting ready to throw the weapon in a body of water to hide it, undercover police raided the scene and arrested Riley. In court, after 5 hours of deliberation, jurors found 19-year-old Riley guilty of first-degree murder as well as stalking, theft, reckless endangerment, and being in possession of a during a dangerous felony. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 51 years. In court, to Emma's family, Riley Gauss stated, quote, "I'm sorry I took Emma away from you, that I robbed you from the experience of watching your daughter grow up. What I can do is tell the truth about that night. I just wanted to scare her. I never meant to take Emma's life. Again, I am so sorry." This story is a very sad reminder of how scary toxic relationships have been. Nobody could have prevented this. Her parents did everything they knew to do. They tried to protect her, but unfortunately they could not. It breaks my heart. But thank you guys for spending time with me today, for listening to Emma's stories. Remember to be kind to people. I hope you guys are all having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.